Oh, I've got it. I'm recording.
Oh, you
I'm
got it.
recording it to the cloud. I'm recording it to the cloud. Okay,
Awesome.
so note to the people that are watching this in the future, we just began. You've not missed anything but the fabulous meditation. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to give you that mybodygraph.com. And then that one you have to have a login though. So if you don't have time or you don't want to sign up for an account, you can just use the Jovian archive free chart, and it's super fast. And then you don't have to create a you don't have to create anything. Now, I love the My Body Graph because, and I'm actually going to show you why I love it. I'm going to share my screen and hope that it works. Okay, here is the My Body Graph. I love it because you can add people, as many people as you want. So if you want to, like, if you get into it, like if you'll notice that this is my family here. Oh, look, there's Claire. I'm not gonna put hers up there. But like because once now that I know, like I need to know everybody's chart. And then it gives all this information and it has a lot of details because it rolls over and it's real interactive. Whereas the Jovian archive, it just like lays out the chart, but it does give you these properties over here. And tonight, this is going to look confusing because it also looked confusing to me. I was like, what the heck is this when I first started doing it? All you need to know for tonight is a couple of the things over here, which we'll go over. So you don't really need to know what this chart looks like, but if you want it and you want to know what your type is and what your strategy and authority and your signature and your not self theme is, then you can go ahead and fill these in tonight and you're good to go. Why, if that's something you want to do, have at it. I'm gonna begin kind of sharing how I kind of got into human design and what it's kind of done for me. And I'm going to stop sharing for that. And then we'll go back and we will play with this and I'll show you more about the ins and out of the chart as we get into the technicalities of what we're going to talk about tonight. So since 2011, oh, and I also wanted to say, if you have a question or you want to like pop it into the chat, or if something like speaks to you and you want to like note it for other, y'all can communicate in the chat. If Eileen's going to monitor the chat. And so there's a question or something, if I have a chance, I will check in, but I don't know how because multitasking is hard for me because I'm a projector. We'll talk about that later. Okay, since 2011, my life's work is unearthing how we manage fear and how fear is always at the foundation of all of our complicated and sometimes dark emotions like anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment, worry, anxiety, depression, hatred, etc. Okay. And how practicing how we can reframe fear and all of its masks, because I like to use those words, like all those emotions and feelings are really, if you get down to the foundation, they're really just masks for fear. How we can practice in reframing that away from the outside information that is constantly offered as subversion from our own inner knowing. In 2013, at age 36, I had a significant mental health break after a lifetime of jumping through all of society's hoops and making decisions through the lens of a fear and scarcity mindset, grounded in this wildly correct claircognizance. Are y'all familiar with the clairs, like the different outer set? Like we have the physical embodied senses, the five senses, and then we have all these divine senses that we kind of ignore, or we're told when we're 7, like you didn't actually see that in the corner, or or we're going to put you on solid medication. Like those are things that we got conditioned out of us to pay attention to. Well, I am claircognizant, which is I just know stuff and I don't know how I know it. And boy, when I was living in a fear and scarcity mindset, I would expect the worst and then you better believe that right on time, the worst would happen. And it did not help me step out of that fear and scarcity mindset because I didn't understand that that was feeding the fear and scarcity mindset. So once I had the break in picking myself up with community and family support and a therapist and really good meds that I learned to stay on after multiple assumptions that I was magically healed without doing any work whatsoever because the medicine worked. And then I was like, I'm fine. And then I went off the medicine and then, no, that was not fine. I knew three things after that process and after I learned those things. I knew this to be true. I knew that liberation was calling me. I knew that systems were going to be disrupted, whether I did anything about it or not. And I knew that I was bone tired. Now, if any of y'all have ever felt any of those things in any realm whatsoever, you can say amen. You can say amen in your brain. I don't think that I'm alone here because I feel like I talk to people all the time where they're like, yeah, or it's like starting to niggle at them. There's a reason why you're here. I feel because of those things, right? So I was still thinking I needed to jump through hoops to prepare my children for my what I knew was going to be Mad Max Thunderdome, because that's how I had it envisioned in my mind. Because I'm a child of the 80s. And that I was the only one who could save us all. And my therapist called that a God complex. And I'm working, that is something I'm working on. But I began to change because I recognized that I could not save everybody and everything and also keep my sanity. And after I made some big and what seemed like awesome and amazing decisions, I created some community organizations that were needed. They served my babies and local community well, and they sounded really good when I was being introduced or telling people what I did for a living. I mean, I sounded great, like, oh my gosh, you're doing all the things. But I was still feeling like a failure because I felt imprisoned in the spaces that were offering the people that I had created them for liberation. And I was selling everybody on breaking free of fear and scarcity, and yet I was not free. Liberation for all around me at my own expense was unsustainable. And that is the moment when, in the fall of 2019, human design presented itself to me, as breadcrumbs do when you have opened up to possibilities and opportunities for your growth. And when I learned about it, it literally changed everything. And then I ignored it. Shannon, weren't you the one that you said that you had discovered it and then you were like, and I forgot about it? Right. I did not forget about it. I had issues, and I'm not even going to go into them because I'm not going to talk about the founder. I read about the founder who was like a white dude that then went to like Ibiza and did some channeling and then changed his name to Ra Uru Hu. And I got real triggered by that. I got real triggered. And I was like, nope, I'm not dealing with any of this nonsense. Nope. But I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that my type and everything, when I learned about my type, it all was correct. It was absolutely correct. And then I had to be like, okay, channeled information, whether you choose to believe it or not, it gets put into whoever it needs to get put into, that it's going to get to the most people. And in 1978, a white Jewish dude from Canada had the resources to get it out to the masses. And I chose to then learn what I learned from 2019 on from not Ra Uru Hu. I went to women, I went to women of color. I went and I started studying this from people who had also done that work. And then if I wanted to pay somebody, I wanted to pay a woman. So I did a lot of self-directed work to understand this because I couldn't put away the fact that this was correct. Like, this answered a lot of things about my life. So human design helped me understand why I had felt so out of sync, even though I was doing all the correct things for the world I wanted my beloveds to live in. And yet I was in a personal prison. Why? Human design shined a path that I suddenly recognized and had been following instinctively for years. And I think somebody else said, some of the things about it sound correct, like deep down. But I think Deborah, you said that you've been reading it for a couple of months and you were like, oh, under the layers, this felt correct, right? That is what happened to me. I really connected with when you said that, Deborah. And so I had been doing these things instinctively for fun when I wasn't overwhelmed with the I shoulds. We all know those I shoulds, right? And after learning my type, inner authority and strategy, I remembered who I was and how that hoop jumping had just worn me down. I couldn't do it anymore. I was beginning, at that moment, I began shedding everything that didn't serve. And then I am not saying that, like, I mean, on the whole, pandemic has been horrific and destructive. But on a personal level, pandemic, it opened up time for me in a way that I had never had time before, that I had no choice but to face, excuse my language, but I had to face some shit, right? And I didn't have anywhere to go. I had nowhere to go but to face it. And I had tremendous privilege that I got to sit here and spend the time to face it. But boy, it opened up that possibility for me to restart. And so in earnest, I began studying a lot of things, but human design is what it honed into. And I studied it like I was getting my third master's degree, because I have two in education that I don't even use. But this one in human design, like I use it every day in a way that I'm still paying on the others, but I have not paid really for anything other than my time to learn about this. So I began seeing how well human design can support individuals who are ready to liberate themselves from the world of fear and scarcity. Human design made so much sense to me and could interconnect and expand the self-awareness and fear shedding tools that I was already working with in other realms. For example, I love this analogy about radio stations by Lindsay Mack, who is an intuitive artist, teacher, and facilitator of Wild Soul Healing. I studied with her in 2018, and I talk about it in the article in the New Earth Almanac. Radio 1, she says, is the brain turned up really loud. Think like a hardcore rock station, like no, 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 no. Okay, and it's like blaring. Okay, so that's your brain. And then radio 2 is our soul knowing, which can't be turned up, as it's exactly as it should be. It's like Delilah, like love someone tonight. Okay, it's real low. Okay. And deep down within us, this quiet and soothing radio is on. And we're never going to hear it. If we got KDF 103.3, if you're old school Nashville, we're never going to hear that blaring if we don't turn it down. So we got to turn radio 1 of the brain down so that we can listen to radio 2 of the soul, whose subtle, intuitive, divinely instinctual, melodious whispers have supported our evolution, right alongside that hair on the back of your neck, knowing that fear can spark. So fear and the soul have evolved together all throughout human existence. There can be a healthy relationship between fear and the soul. The balance that rests in turning down the brain, which wants to control our choices, and listening to the soul's knowing allows us to respect fear when we need it to survive, free ourselves from fear's unnecessary, incessant grip, and hold fear accountable when it tries to overthrow the balance. And our world right now thrives on the brain and fear controlling everything. And our soul's knowing often gets relegated and certainly not developed or honed by how our current society works. So when we experience fear-based reactive emotions, those masks that I talked about of anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment, that is a message to stop, take a breath, practice mindful self-compassion. Like, this is a moment of suffering. Everybody has these moments. I need to like give myself some major love right now, and then rebalance. And then we filter that outside information that's coming in, that's triggering us. The reaction, we filter that reaction through Radio 2 of the soul. Feel what we need to feel, because we have every right to feel what we need to feel, because that's an old paradigm that said, oh, just we don't talk about it. No, you want to talk about it. Feel it, scream it out, do that safely, do whatever you need to do. Get through the waves of emotion, get to a neutral place again, and then you can start making decisions. But nobody's doing that in our society, and we're seeing it, right? So in the practice of filtering fear through the quiet knowing of our soul, we are liberating ourselves to be authentic human beings. Our souls embodied to be these authentic human beings in this lifetime. So then it leads us to become deep, expansive, spiraling, pure, compassionate, magical beings of light, y'all. It does not happen quickly, but the thing is, it can happen immediately. And that's what's so beautiful about human design. So, but like how? Like I can tell a great story, but like how specifically do we listen to that soul knowing consistently in a society that has us constantly spiraling back into that fear and scarcity mindset, along with being conditioned by everyone we come in contact with? Because so many of us who are called to communities like New Earth have deep empathic tendencies that can overwhelm us, especially amidst this great paradigm shift that we chose to embody within. Now, y'all don't have to believe that, but I believe that every one of us chose to be here. We chose to be here in this messed up, crazy time. Our souls were like, that's what we're going to do, y'all, get ready. And that's where human design comes in, because human design literally offers a map for you. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen because I have a little, I want to make sure that I share the right. Do y'all see the presentation? Because I don't ever know what my computer's doing. Is it showing the New Earth Almanac and Meetup Presents Human Design?
It is showing nothing.
Not
It's
yet.
showing nothing?
Mm-mm.
No,
No, it did. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's showing everybody.
Oh, okay.
Right, but no, yeah, there
Now
we
we
go.
got
Okay.
it. Now we got it.
Is it showing it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. All right, because I've got my words over here. I have two screens going. I'm very fancy, y'all. Okay. So let me scroll to where I want to be. Okay, so these were my body graph, and look, that's how different they are, but they're not too different. They kind of give the same information, obviously. Okay, so let's talk about human design. Oh, let's see where my thing went. Okay, it's also known as the science of differentiation, and it's a channeled system that integrates 4 ancient modalities: astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, and the chakra system. The more esoteric systems are alchemized with the more contemporary scientific realms of astronomy, quantum mechanics, genetics, and biochemistry. Y'all, we're not going to get into that today because I have to like read it multiple times to even understand. It has to do with neutrinos, and it's super cool because the channeled information that happened in like 1978, this Ra'uruhu, he channeled about these neutrino systems that are like this, like the star stuff, but nobody had studied neutrinos. Okay. And then now neutrinos are getting studied, and there's this neutrino lab in Japan, and all the things that he channeled about in like 1978, they're now like scientifically able to be like, oh yeah, this is like, it has to do with our auric field and the energy and the way the energy circulates in our body. So it's like, it's just this brilliant balance of science and metaphysics coming closer together, which I believe is part of where the new earth is leading. Like we're going to continue to get closer to that. And the people that get it and are balancing the two are going to have this understanding and this expansiveness that those that choose just to be science or just to be spirituality and don't find a way to bridge them and like have a balance are going to miss these huge gaps, are going to have gaps. So human design is a deeply layered system that shows how each of us has a unique design and a specific purpose to fulfill while on earth. The body graph is a mandala that shows our specific energetic design based on where planets are located in connection to Earth on our birth date, time, and location, combined with the location of planets 88 days to the minute prior to birth, as that is when the channeled information indicates the soul enters the body, completing our embodied divinity. The outcome of those energy points in time affirm who we really are, how to be ourselves, and how to navigate in a radically changing world. Human design provides simple tools we can use immediately to live an aware and awake life, a simple strategy we can trust that reliably connects to our personal authority in order to make moment-to-moment decisions that are correct for us so that our unique life purpose can unfold naturally. Living in your strategy can help eliminate resistance, which presents as those fear masks, anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment, emotions that are often masking fear, in order for us to live a more relaxed, unique, balanced, creative, and evolutionarily revolutionary life. So once you have a connective to your design, human design can offer an understanding. Also, I guess once you have a connective to your own design and you really understand your human design, the system can offer understanding to other people's designs. And that gets exciting. Like family and friends, how we connect, conflict, and align to enhance our best selves and our relationships. And as a mother and an elder who spends her days in ancestral healing and descendant work, I love how it can support the children in our lives and help create environments where they are empowered to be their unique selves, learning and developing as individuated human beings, and offering connective, supportive parent-child relationships that offer mutual respect and reciprocity over a lifetime. So as a facilitator of human design, I like to present the system as a 7-circuit labyrinthine journey. Whereas the further you wrap yourself within the labyrinth, the more personal and individuated the system will become for each person as they deepen their connections to their own inner knowing. You can never get lost in a labyrinth. You just keep getting deeper in until you are at your most central core, and then the journey back out is the magic of integration through experimentation. Tonight, we are going to just focus on circuit 1 of the labyrinth. The first circuit alone will give you a lifetime of practical self-understanding with which to experiment. But if this system resonates with you, I can offer some advice on next steps for a deeper dive at the end of our time tonight. So first, we're going to talk about the awareness centers of human design. Human design has 3 awareness centers that I want to share with you before we dig into the individuated concepts. The 3 centers are 1, the splenic center, which is down here, which is called the body in this image. It's connected to the primordial knowing that allowed us to evolve into Homo sapiens, sometimes referred to as instinctual knowing, intuition, a bone deep feeling. It's what protected us when we lived in a world where we were more often prey than predator. As we evolved, we moved into the 2nd awareness center. We began using our mind, our Ajna center, to establish civilizations that offered communal safety And in those civilizations, the mind became the great knower, decider, and controller. That's where we are today. But we are evolving from that. Can I get an amen? Because we really, really are and need to, like ASAP. I don't like a sense of urgency, but we will be better off when we learn to balance this. So the mind became the great knower, decider, and controller. Humans no longer were at risk of being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, go Preds. And those organizing civilizations realized that if everyone was making decisions with their brains alone, conditioned by an outer authority, CNN and Fox News are a great example of that currently, like both of them are, that outer authority is constantly triggering that ancient primordial fear of other or the unknown or the savage. Okay, so here we come back to, we have the mind triggering the body to stay in fear. Okay, and that's where we are now. Then humans could become dependent on systems that ended up benefiting only a few, even though they were led to believe it was going to benefit everybody. And that's where we are still deep in the mess of today. Now we're evolving again though, okay? So now, and I love this because this is the draw to the New Earth movement, right? This evolution that we all can feel because we all don't want to do this anymore. And a lot of us have moved, are learning how not to do this anymore. But because of the conditioning, we keep getting pulled back in. So in this new evolvement, we're deepening our understanding of our emotional awareness center, which is our solar plexus. Our emotional waves are really, really important for all of us, okay? We all have an opportunity to practice allowing our emotional waves to settle before making reactionary decisions, with the Ajna center wanting to still be in control through triggering the splenic center's ancient survival systems. Do you see how they're all like in a little triangle working together to like trigger one another? The way we begin to have awareness around this ingrained, conditioned process is learning our own individuated human design type, strategy, and personal authority, and how to use them to make decisions that are in alignment with our highest and best, which literally raises our microcosmic vibrations, rippling out into the macrocosm. Turn radio 1, the ajna here, turn it down, keep it from triggering your splenic and emotional awareness centers for a reaction that then you make a decision through. Then you're like, I'm leaving you. I don't want to be married to you anymore. And then you calm down and then you do, and then you're like, oh, wait a second. I don't know what I'm talking about. I needed to like go to sleep and then come back. Okay. So, but we also have the right to be angry and aware. We also have the right to feel the things that we're feeling. We can't make the triggers go away, but we can be aware of them and then understand them, because in awareness is expansion. So that way we can then tap into and pull out our personal authority, which is radio 2, which can then guide us through these moments. Now, I personally believe, and I said it before, that our souls all chose to embody on Earth, and that we choose our birth time and location. And this feels to me personally why human design and the types and their subsequent authorities and strategies are always so resonant when people begin tapping into this energy. It explains a lot once you take the time to reflect on your energetic makeup. So, oops, don't go anywhere because I just thought that I clicked down, but I really clicked all the way back up. Okay. Okay, circuit 1, let's get into it. The types. Come over here, and so there are 5 energy types. The type is it embodies the essence of the human design system, and it is the basis for the most practical, empowering, and transformative information, our strategy and authority. Type concerns the body, our genetics, and our aura, and has nothing to do with psychological or personality typing. This isn't like your Enneagram or your Myers-Briggs. This is like a physiological thing. And a lot of times people, like I said, I was claircognizant. I don't know if there's anybody on here that is clairvoyant and can see auras or can see light. You may be able to see, like we all have this energy field. And if you just put your hands up in the air, let's do that. Everybody put your hands up in the air and then stretch your hands out and then go all the way around. That's your aura. And when people come into that aura, they can feel your energy. That's why so many of you who are empaths, when somebody gets close to you, I mean, if you're really sensitive, they don't even have to get close to you. But if they get up into your space and it is repelling, like you will feel it, right? So that type, we all have that. And there are 5 categories. Now, some people will be like, please don't categorize me. Like, don't label me. Don't put me in a box. I get it. But the beautiful thing about human design is we're only on circuit 1, and there's 7 circuits, but really each circuit has like 25 sections. So you really, like, the individuation that you get with human design goes way deeper than this circuit, than this first type. But this is our kind of big picture. This is the big, you look at a labyrinth, usually you have that really big circuit all the way around. That's where type is. So type is a way we operate energetically and the way we are received by others around us energetically. It could also be seen as an energetic archetypal role we play in the production of our life. For example, the butler might be a role you play. Your role in this life is your type. And there are 4 types and 1 subtype. There's manifestors, generators, projectors, and reflectors. And then generators have a subtype that's called manifesting generators. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. Depending on what type you are, depends on what you have embodied on earth to do. And so let's see what each of us are embodied on earth to do. Let's first talk about manifestors. Manifestors make up 9% of the world's population. They are here to initiate. Oh, wait, let me look. I have my, look at that. Okay. Oh, wait, no, that's later. Don't go. I'm going to come back. Okay. They're here to initiate. They have access to incredible power, which can be turned on suddenly and without warning. This can sometimes frighten other people and at times even the manifestor themselves. Manifestors have to be in control of their lives and really hate anyone to tell them what to do or how to do it. They need as much freedom as possible to live their life and to carve out their own destiny according to their own rules. They are not here to wait. They are here to initiate and have impact on others and the world around them. Now, generators. Thanks, Melanie. Have a good night. Generators make up 36% of the population, and the subtype of manifesting generators make up 32% of the population. And both are here to work, but not just any work, work that lights them up from the inside. The majority of the humans on Earth are generators, y'all. It's like 78%. And they provide continual power and life force energy to the world. These are the people with staying power. They have a continued source of energy that will go like an Energizer bunny, even if they are not doing what lights them up. The systems in our society have taken advantage of that through fear and scarcity mindsets. And that becomes evident when we see so much illness and discontent in the world. If generators use their energy to work on that which lights them up, they would change the vibration of the earth collectively. But instead, most humans are working to survive. And then their even powerful motor responds over time. And that kind of work with physical, I'm sorry, that is, wait, instead, see, I'm reading and I'm not reading it correctly, but instead most humans are working to survive. And then they have this powerful motor that responds. It just keeps responding to whatever. And over time, if they are doing work that is not lighting them up, that work is going to start. It's like a motor. It's like an engine that isn't cleaned out. And so it gets rusty. And then you start having physical, emotional, and mental illness. A perfect example of this is the Industrial Revolution. So factory workers often don't live long enough after their long careers to benefit from those nice pensions that they get upon retirement, right? The miners that, work in the mines and then you'll be set for life. Yeah, for the 1 month that you live after you come out of the mines and are breathing fresh air. The Industrial Revolution bet on people working themselves to death so that they didn't have to pay pensions for very long. All major civilizations in the world, because for most of human existence, manifestors and generators were the only types. There were very few projectors and reflectors, and the manifestors initiated. They were very, kind of closed off people that just initiated and then enslaved the generators to build the civilizations. And we're still doing it today. 78% of our human population is still doing stuff to survive, right? Okay. Now, manifesting generators, they have the same core energy as generators, responding naturally to the flow of life coming to you as a manifesting generator is ultimately the most efficient and satisfying way that your energy can be used. Manifesting generators must trust that life itself has its plan for you and that it will unfold in its own natural timing as something that you are uniquely equipped to respond to. You cannot control the correct direction of your life by using a rational mental decision-based approach. You want to, though, because you have that manifestor in you and you want it to be like, let's go. Why is this not happening? My energy is ready. My motor's running. Okay. Your mind will actively guide you toward a life that ultimately will prove to be unsatisfying. Your mind will. The difference between generators and manifesting generators is that manifesting generators are designed to move to initiation very quickly after responding, unless they're emotional manifesting generators, which is something we're going to talk about in a little bit. So when they respond to the thing that lights them up, then the tree is up already. Like it's already like when they decide what they're going to cook for dinner, they've done it. And then you look around, you're like, when did that happen? It happened so fast. Because once they responded to their gut, that was like, this is what I want, man, then they knock it out. Okay, projectors. Projectors make up 22% of the population and are here to guide. Projectors are non-energy types who in modern times have taken leadership roles as authoritarian leaders are losing favor, who are the manifestors. It's not that manifestors are authoritarian. It's just that type, that initiator, a lot of times in our society has been driven into that kind of position because they don't want to explain themselves. And that's a typical authoritarian. It's like, I don't have to tell you why. I just want it to happen. They serve as guides to the energy types, manifestors, generators, and manifesting generators in the most efficient use of their energy resources. Projectors have an inherent ability to understand others. They are the masters of reading and managing energy efficiently. Projectors are also great at organizing others and at networking. They know how to bring the right people to the job to accomplish a specific task, and they also know how to maintain harmony in the world. They have this innate natural ability to recognize the potential and talents of other people and be able to offer guidance to them. And then we have reflectors. And y'all, if you look at the screen, reflectors are just empty. They just don't have none of their centers. These are the chakra centers. They're just open. They're just open because reflectors are literally mirrors. They make up 1% of the population, and they are here to reflect. They are wholly different from the way the other 99% of human beings operate. The reflector aura is a resistant aura that does two things uniquely. First, it samples or tastes the auras of the people around them by taking in only a little piece of what it receives. Secondly, it reflects back all of what it receives from the other person. This resistant aura works as a protection mechanism for the reflector. Protection from being overwhelmed by the emotions and energies of the other people around them. It is also what makes the reflector seem like a chameleon to the rest of us. Reflectors become their environment. They do this quite naturally, but often feel invisible to others because of it. Other people will always see aspects of themselves when they meet a reflector. They're like the lover's card in the tarot. So reflectors should spend some time becoming aware of what is actually them and what they are reflecting. It will take some practice, and it is only over time that they will get to know their real selves. Okay, so these are the types. Now, each of these types has a strategy. And let me come over to my screen because there's the strategies. Okay, so the strategy is correct for them to practice. Okay, so this strategy is what you are wanting to practice in your life. Strategy is our way of being in the world without meeting resistance. It is an integral part of our energetic type and accesses the unique ways energy is designed to flow through each of us, ultimately determining how we efficiently and successfully interact oracally with other types. Once you start living your strategy, you will experience its reward, which is called your signature. All right, so the manifestor, here in the middle, their strategy is to inform. They want to be left alone. And so to inform often feels hard. But when they do, without being asked, because when they get asked, then they get kind of pissed at you and they're like, why do you care? And then it's very dramatic. But if they're able to inform without being asked, they will be rewarded for their discomfort and begin to want to inform. Okay. Generators are here, and manifesting generators, their strategy is both to respond. Often they want to initiate. Oh my gosh, generators are desperate to initiate. They just want to start all kinds of things. They just do, and they can start all kinds of things in response to something, right? That's the key. That's the trick. They are to respond. Often they want to initiate and they want to work. They want to initiate it and then they want to run it and sustain it because they're just like, let's do it. And then they get frustrated. And that we're going to talk about that frustration because, yeah. Eileen, did you have a question?
Hey, Sonia,
Yeah.
did anyone else lose sound?
Oh,
Is the sound okay for everybody else?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then it's
Okay,
just
over
from my
here.
end. Sorry to interrupt.
good.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
okay,
sound
no,
good.
you're fine. You're fine. No, I'm glad you interrupted for that. Okay. Okay, so they want to initiate and they want to work, and that can burn them out and it cause all kinds of drama for them. But if they are responding to the world around them using their authority, they will be rewarded. Okay, so you can initiate as a response to something, okay, that your gut has told you is correct for you. Okay. And we haven't even gotten to that. It just layers, they layer upon themselves. Projector strategy is to be recognized through waiting for the invitation. Now that pisses projectors off. When a projector, and I'm a projector, and when they told me to wait, I was like, I will not wait for anybody. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do when I want to do it. And guess what? You can as a projector. You can do whatever you want to do. You can do it. You can follow your interests. You can go down that rabbit hole, but then you can share about it as like, oh my gosh, can I tell you, oh, I did this great thing. And oh, I had so much fun. But as soon as you start being like, I think you would like it too. Can I share? Like proselytizing, A projector cannot, like if they are like part of a church and the church is like, go out there and tell the people about the truth, and you start telling, and that's when people start shutting the door on you as a projector. You have to be invited before you start sharing. Okay. So y'all all chose to come to this. Okay. If I had just come to your Facebook wall and been like, hey, Veronica, I don't know you, but I think that you would really, really dig human design, because let me tell you about what I did with it. Like, you would be like, who is this crazy person? I'm not even going to talk about human design, because my aura it's a repellent aura. That's just how projectors are. But if you invite them and then they accept that invitation, then, oh my gosh, it's like magic. It's a beautiful experience. So this does not mean that they wait around. It just means that they follow what they are interested in and share it as their interest, thereby offering those who recognize them to invite them into deeper connection, right? So I don't say to people, do you want to learn human design? I go, oh my God, being a projector changed my freaking life, and I'm going to tell you the story about it. And if you want to hear the story, then you listen to the story, then you ask me more questions. And then I either am like, yeah, I want to totally tell you more about it, or hey, here's a website. Cheers. I don't have time for that today. So, and then you get to decide. Okay. Projectors. Okay. Projectors then can decide if they want to accept those invitations. And it's great. It's great. You don't have to stop what you're doing and just wait and like fiddle your thumbs and be like, I hope somebody asks me a question. Well, no, go live your life and enjoy it. And just know that people are going to come to you if you are, they're just going to be, because that's the way your aura is set up. Now, reflectors. Reflector strategy is to wait, y'all take a deep breath, is to wait through a 28-day lunar cycle. I know, like what? That seems so complex for non-reflectors, but reflectors often, when they hear that, totally feel aligned to this and actually take have a huge sigh of relief, because they're already doing it, because energetically they have figured out, especially if they're adults, that they need that time. And that it allows them to be able to function in this draining world. And when they didn't know that, and they haven't been doing that, and they've been so disappointed in their life, and they realize that they can take the time, and that taking the time, like if somebody's not going to give you the time to make a big decision and have like a long time to figure it out, and then it's probably not going to work out anyway, right? So, and there's so few of them that a lot of times they've created their world in a way that allows for them to have that time. So those are the 5 energy types and their strategies. Now, you want to live in your strategy, and the way you live in your strategy is you use your inner authority. All right, so this is when human design began to blow my mind. Think about all the ways we are taught to make a big decision. It's honestly overwhelming. Let's just go through them. Like, oh, I have a big decision to make. I think I'm going to take this job and I don't know what to do. And they'll be like, oh, you should make a list of the pros and cons. Make a list. Oh, you should just talk it out. Talk about it. Like, make your pros and cons list, and then just talk it out with somebody. You should go with your gut. What does your gut tell you? Like in the interview, what did your gut tell you? You should just go with that. All right. And your brain is saying all this too, which the brain is not supposed to be engaged in this. Like, settle down, brain, turn it down. You'll just know. You'll know if that job's right for you, because you're going to feel it in your bones. It's going to be immediate, like that. Did you feel it like that? If you didn't, well, then it's probably not going to be right for you. I would sleep on it. You should sleep on it, give them 24 hours notice, and tell them that you're going to need a couple of days just to like make sure that it feels correct. Be patient. Just be patient. Give it some more time. You should take a walk. Do you have like a favorite place that you like to go walk? Because I find that if I'm like at this one place in the park, everything just becomes clear. I have this coffee shop that I go to, and there's a certain booth that I sit in, and it just, everything feels right. And then I just know things. Endless, y'all. Well, what if I told you that you were built with one definitive way to tap into your personal authority, to make decisions, or to filter outer information? And one of those ways is one of those ways that I just mentioned. So yeah, all of these things are absolutely correct, but they're not absolutely correct for all of us to do all of them to make decisions. Okay, so we each have an authority, an inner authority that allows us to turn Radio 1 down, to turn down outer authorities who are like, tell me about the job you're going to get. I want to hear more about it. Let me give you some advice. No, I don't need your advice. You don't need their advice. Okay. You can take it, you can listen to it, but that's not how you make decisions. People on Facebook that are like, what should I do? And then they do a poll, and then they don't do the thing. And then you just are like, why are you even doing a poll, dude? You're not listening to us. Okay. All right, so when we know what that authority is, we can simply begin using it to know whether something is correct for us or not, and then acting accordingly. Here's how. Okay. All right, here are the 9 centers. This is where the chakra system, because all of these things layer upon themselves, these ancient systems. The chakra system comes into play. Human design has 9 energy centers within our body. It has the root, which we're familiar with, okay? Sacral, it's got solar plexus, heart, throat, ajna, which I think we also call the third eye, head, which we also call crown. And then it has 2 additional centers. Now, it is my understanding, I am not a knower of chakras, but it is my understanding that there are lots and lots of chakras on our body, but these are the 7 like main ones that like bring us to the divine and ground us to the earth, right? So when this channeling happened, the channeling came out that the splenic, which is that instinctual knowing, is a actual center. And then the G, which is this like, it's kind of like the higher self, but it's like divine love and self-love and higher self-direction. Okay, so those are the 2 additional centers that human design offers. And the way that all of these centers are connected to one another based on that moment when you were born and 88 days prior, because the I Ching is connected and has all these different gates and circuitries, the planets all plink together, like, you know, like that Plinko game in The Price is Right. Plink, 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 plink. And then it like basically lit up certain things. And then those circuitries is how we know what our inner authority is. So since we have embodied to either initiate as a manifestor, work as a generator or a man-gen is just a quick way to say a manifesting generator, to guide as a projector, or to reflect as a reflector, the human mind, which is this ajna head combination, is desperate to be our inner authority on how we decide to do that, on how we decide to initiate, work, guide, or reflect. However, we are not created to listen to the mind alone, as it has a constant need to control us. We must quiet the mind and free it from its constant blaring and need to have our attention. Radio 1, your mind is that station, and we have to learn to turn down the volume. You can do that by knowing and practicing your inner authority. Then the mind is free to observe life as a relaxed, reflective passenger, enjoying its ride and fulfilling its role as an outer authority to others. I am being an outer authority. Your mind is taking in this information. At the end of it, it's going to try to tell you what it thinks about it. Don't listen to it. Go with filter this through your inner authority. So there are 8 inner authorities, and only 1 is correct for you. So depending on what your human design chart says, and that's where it gets great. That's where it's fun, because when you come over to the human design chart over here, it tells you what type you are. Here you are, I'm a projector. my strategy to wait for the invitation. And here's my authority. I'm a self-projected projector. Okay, so that's where you find it on your chart. Over here, it has strategy, your inner authority. It'll tell you right there. So let's go through the 8 inner authorities. And this is the last part of our conversation. So we may go over about 6 or 7 minutes, and then the rest of the time, if you need to go, I understand. But I'm going to give you some websites and stuff to check out at the end if you are able to stay over. Solar plexus, your emotional authority. All right, 47% of the population has solar plexus authority. It is the fastest growing. That is the evolution. There are more emotional authority people on Earth because we all, human beings, all need to learn how to manage our emotional waves and come to neutrality when we make a decision. And more of us are embodying as emotional authority. And even more are going to start embodying that in 2027, because 2027 is a major shift in this new Earth alignment. So all these babies coming out that are coming in the next 10 years are going to be completely energetically more evolved than the rest of us. I just can't wait. I can't wait to be an elder for it. I feel like it's our responsibility to understand our stuff so that we can be the proper elders for them, because, oh my God, they're just gonna, that energy is just gonna start. That's just gonna raise the vibration of the Earth. It's already doing it. Okay. So emotional authority people are manifestors, generators, manifesting generators. Oh, and I should have, and also projectors. Projectors can be emotional. So everybody can be an emotional authority other than reflectors, because reflectors have no authority. They just have to wait that 28 days. So this indicates that your most aligned decisions appear when you are emotionally clear. For you especially, time is like a magical ingredient that helps you achieve that clarity. Sleeping on it is one of the best things you can do for yourself when you feel emotionally charged around a particular decision. Those with emotional authority need to give themselves at least 24 hours before making a big decision. And when I tell people that have emotional authority that, they'll be like, a lot of times I know right off, but I really gain clarity the next day. And I can with definitive, yes or no, tell you whether I want to do the thing. That's why people with emotional authority will be with you and you'll be like, we should go to the lake tomorrow. And then they'll be like, we should. And they get home and they go to bed and they wake up the next morning and they're like, I'm not going to the lake. What the hell was I thinking? And that's okay, because if you have an emotional authority, you need to be able to change your mind. If you have a kid with it, they need to be able to change their mind. Sacral is the next. Sacral makes up 35% of the population. Those are our generators and our manifesting generators. Having sacral authority means that your inner source of truth is rooted deep in your body in its energetic gut response to life. That gut response is a yes or no response. So you guys, generators, I'm the most jealous of y'all, because y'all can get up and leave here right now. You could do it right now and be like, this crazy person's been talking for an hour. It's 8:30. Do I want to stay on this call anymore? Yes or no? Your gut telling you no right now, you get off this call right this minute. If your gut's like, no, I can stand up and then take it for a little bit longer, then good. You just start making yes or no decisions. Do I want the fan on or off tonight? My gut says yes. Turn the fan on. Do I want coffee or tea? Tea. Okay. You go with your gut. And so all those little things you do, when you have to make big decisions, you know what it feels like when it's a yes, and you know what it feels like when it's a no. Okay. That's our 35%, our sacrals. Now we have our splenic authority down here, 11%. So that's that fear-based, that primal, that primordial, okay? If you have splenic authority in your chart, you're either a manifestor or a projector. You are the only authority that can make a split-second decision in the moment. So that you'll know it in your bones. That is for splenic authority. If you have it, you know it. And sometimes you know it so quickly that you don't even notice it. If you're turned all the way up here, that bone knowing may say, and I'll give you an example, because we all have it in the back, because it's that reptile brain. When you're in the parking garage and you know something's not right, and then you go, no, it's fine. And then something happens and it doesn't feel right. And you're like, but I knew it. I knew there was something wrong with the situation. That a lot of times those splenic manifestors and projectors, that's what they have to listen for that. It communicates through resonance. The splenic center does. You might feel an instant deep recognition that a course of action is definitely meant for you, or conversely, an instant unease. And that's why manifestors have to inform, because they have to tell you right then and there, this is not going to work for me. And if they don't, they're going to get angry at themselves. And if they do, they're going to have peace. And so that's where we start seeing how these authorities work. So your body might use the language of fear to communicate with you if you have splenic authority. The trick is to decode what the fear messages mean. Are you feeling fear because the action you're about to take is outside your integrity? Are you anxious because you're not sure what the future holds? Or are those butterflies nervous excitement? The next thing is talk, is people that have to do some level of talking it out with those who can listen without weighing in or offering their opinion. And that is the ego and the self manifested. And their names are heart-centered, ego manifested, self-projected, and environmental or mental sounding board. And they are a mixture of manifestors and projectors, and they just have to talk it out. The environmental people, they have to talk it out in an environment that's good for them. So they're the ones that are going to go to that cafe and like maybe talk to the lady who like gives them coffee every morning, and then they figure stuff out by just talking to her, not because she tells them anything, but just because they need to like have that experience to get it. And then we have the heart-centered ego projected. This is super rare. It's only for projectors. And it is when the heart or the will center has a direct connection, not to talking it out in the throat, but to the G center, which provides this internal GPS for purpose or direction. And so it's like this like higher self that just kind of guides you, like almost like an automatic, like you just know things. And then finally, we have the lunar reflectors, who have no inner authority, and they are designed to wait 28 days. Because that's just how they are. That's just what they have to do. So once you know your type and your personal authority, you begin making decisions through practicing your strategy. And so I'm going to use generators and man-gens as the example here, since they're the most common type. Generators begin practicing tonight, making these yes or no decisions, okay, and listening to your gut. Like what I said before, fan or no fan, tea or coffee. Now, when you're doing all of these things, you're going to get a reward. And that reward is going to help you know that you're balanced. And so your rewards are based on using your strategy, living by your strategy through using your inner authority. We get our signature. And this is the emotion that helps us know we're in alignment with the energetic flow of our individual human design. So for generators, when you are practicing your authority and your strategy, you are going to be satisfied. You'll be satisfied with your decision. If you responded with your initial gut, yes or no, motor reflex, no brain interference, all gut. And so this is the way it looks for y'all, generators and man-gens. As a generator and man-gen, you work on this earth to make decisions by responding with your authority. And the way you know you are doing that is that you will have satisfaction, which is your signature. And then you have a not self theme, which is frustration, which can help you to recenter into practicing your authority and strategy, which will bring you back into the realm of satisfaction. Choosing work and expending your energy, which you have a ton of, on that which lights you up is the best way to stay centered in your satisfaction, thereby living in alignment with your human design. All right. So, satisfaction tells you you're on it. Frustration tells you I'm not making decisions with my strategy and authority. And so then you can go back to realigning, or you can be frustrated. Sometimes we're just gonna be frustrated, y'all. I mean, if we have a kid that like is irritating us, we can't like send our kid away to school. Sometimes we're just going to have to be frustrated. But there's an awareness there, right? That can help you with balancing it. If a manifester, let me see if I can get this. Yes, as a manifester, your signature is to experience peace. So as a manifester, you're here on this earth to initiate. Ooh, did I lose y'all? Can you hear me? Okay, you're here to initiate, and you will decide what is correct through informing using your authority. And the way you know you're doing that is that you will have the feeling of peace, which is your signature. Anger is your not self theme and can help you to recenter into practicing your authority and strategy, which will bring you back into the realm of peace. By listening to your authority in order to inform others when you decide to act independently, initiate action, or impact others, you stay centered and have peace, thereby living in alignment with your human design. If you're married to a manifestor and make decisions and they're like, well, I didn't know that you would care whether I made that decision or not. And you're like, you bought a car. You didn't even tell me. Like that's a man, and they don't even realize it. And then you're angry and they get angry and they just want to have peace. And they're like, you just say, well, if you had just informed me before you decided to go buy the car, I would have been fine with the car. And then they could have had a lot of peace, but then they didn't because they didn't inform you. My husband is a manifestor, if y'all are wondering. Okay, he has not done that, but he does he does other things where he's like, I didn't know you were going to care. Like, dude, I care. Projectors. All right, their signature is success. So as a projector, you are here on this earth to guide by waiting for the invitation or being recognized. If you accept an invitation using your authority, you will have the feeling of success, which is your signature. Bitterness is your not self theme and can help you to recenter into practicing your authority and strategy, which will bring you back into the realm of success. Spending your time doing what lights you up and sharing personal experiences along with using your authority to accept work and experiences that have offered to you through an invitation to determine that it's correct for you is the best way to stay centered in your success, thereby living in alignment with your human design. All right, and then last but not least, reflectors. Reflectors, their signature, their reward is surprise. So they're here on earth to reflect, and they'll know it's what's correct for you through your strategy of reflecting for a 28-day lunar cycle, which is your authority. By the end of those 28 days, you'll experience surprise at how centered you are in your decision, which is your signature. Disappointment is your not self theme and can help you take the time you need to correctly practice your authority and strategy, which will bring you back into the realm of surprise. By waiting out the cycle of your authority in order to reflect, you stay surprised by the wonderful flow of life, thereby living in alignment with your human design. So that is literally everything that I wanted to talk to y'all about. Circuit 1 is complete. And so remember, though, that tonight is simply you receiving outside authority, which is the true and proper realm of mind. When liberated from making decisions, outer authority becomes a source of knowledge for others. Now you can filter through your personal authority to determine if this feels correct for you. So before we end, I have a daring proposition. As we wane into the darkening, quiet hibernation time of the year, create a practice of stopping and showing self-gratitude when you listen to your soul's inner authority and hear fear and its collaborators less. In this practice, if you choose to create this practice, we transform into the elders that our vastly changing society needs and deserves. Those emotional authority babies are coming in the next few years. We are embodied in this strange, terrible, beautiful time because we are all, regardless of age, the bridge generations who will hold space for and support our living and future descendants at the end of an era we neither ushered forth nor will live in this lifetime to rectify. Simply deciding through the filter of your soul is exactly what we all can do to support the healing of ourselves and the world. As is the macro, so is the micro. If you feel called to deep dive into human design, I have offerings through my business, which is Revolutions Imaginarium. If you go to revolutions.me, you can look up human design and see my offerings. But if you want to self-direct your human design path, which is what I did, I recommend this article, which I'm going to pop in. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pop in all of these things for you so you can pull them from the chat. And this article is a great like overarching details article. It's called What is Human Design Body Graph? Where is it? Okay. And then I love this podcast called the De Luna Human Design Podcast. They also do readings and stuff, but they're real busy and they charge like a lot of money, which go and use them if you can get them, but they're not really, it's hard to get into them, but I really like them and they have the free podcast. So then it's just great. And then I'm Sonia Fernandez LeBlanc on all the social medias. So, you know, please come and hang out with me. Now it's 8:44. If you need to go, I understand, but if you have any questions or you wanna, oh, I see some of y'all put in what your different ones are. If you have questions or anything, you know, please stay on. If you need to go, I understand. Thank y'all for being here. I hope that this kind of guided you through the kind of introduction to human design and like all that it can offer. It can get even more fun as you dig in deeper.
Thank you, Sonia. That was awesome.
Yeah,
It was
you're
awesome.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yay, good. I'm glad
Wow.
y'all liked it.
Sonia, could you just repeat that, please?
Oh, the whole thing. You just want me to
The whole
The
repeat
whole
it.
thing.
Yeah, it's all
It
right.
is like
It's a lot.
unbelievable. You just
know.
blew my flipping mind.
It's so,
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
And it requires multiple times of like,
Woo!
and I've actually never taught it this way. I mean, this is me pulling different threads and like these spirals kept happening where I was like, this fear work, like this can really help that. And I mean, it talks about that, but like to direct it to, you know, those specifics. But that Radio 1, and then if y'all have ever read Women Who Run with the Wolves, there's a section in that where she talks about the awareness centers that the ancient Egyptians, they used to dissect humans and they had these three different pathways. And I was like, shut your face, Clarissa Pinko Lesties, because that's exactly what this Radio 1 and Radio 2 is, that I learned through a tarot course I was taking. And then this layered on it. And I was like, stop it. So good.
Amazing.
But yeah, it really does. It really changes like everything when you start, you know, following it and paying attention to it. You're not following it, just like seeing, experimenting with it. It's fascinating.
Unbelievable.
So much. Yeah.
So much.
Yay.
Yeah, that was good. That was only the tip of the iceberg, you can tell.
Yeah.
Like, not even.
Yeah, I know. I
Wow.
keep thinking that I need to do like a course where like, but not a course. Like it wouldn't be a course. It would be like come along and let's all, let's do, because it would just be like one of these, like this is good. This would take a month to go through, like to really dive into just this first circuit. And then you get, I mean, we didn't even get into like all the channels and the gates and how they actually determine your freaking personality, your unconscious and your conscious, like your role in life, your archetypal profile. It's like the butler is the type, and then your profile is like whether you're what kind of butler are you? Mr. Belvedere? Are you the butler from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Are you what is another butler?
The one from the Jetsons, Rosie.
Oh,
Benson.
Rose. Is she a butler?
Isn't she? Well, I guess she's like the maid. I guess that's not the same thing.
I mean, she
Yeah.
butts. Yeah, no.
I mean,
Rose
but
for
yeah,
butts.
then you figure out what kind. So then that's where the type then becomes like, I mean, that's great. But then now, I have all these other things. So it is just,
I do have
sometimes
a
I just have
question.
to step. Yeah.
Sorry. So what do you, because
you're
this
fine.
feels like lifelong work, and like just me figuring out why I don't listen to my inner authority might take me a year. So I'm curious what you recommend for like moving forward, like, spending a lot of time on circuit one and not really moving on until you feel like you've got it all down, or like, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that you need to like listen to your gut on that one. So
Rude. No, I'm
because
kidding. You're
you're
right.
a
Yeah.
generator, am I
Yeah.
correct? Are you a
Yes.
generator?
Yes.
So
yes.
that's, but here's the thing, it's the yes or no questions that are so important for generators,
Yeah.
because you can existentially think about a lot of things, but you can't make decisions on your existential thoughts. Like you have to get somebody to ask you yes or no questions. Like, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? Do you want to go out on the boat, or do you want to stay at home and be under blankets reading? And your gut is going to be like, I want to be under cover blankets. I mean, I'm just thinking about today, Claire, because I talked to you today. I know you
Right,
wanted to
right.
be under blankets reading today, right? And that gut, that feeling. So then ask your question. Ask that. Like once you know what that feels
Right.
like, start asking yourself bigger questions. Like, do I want to go to the profile and learn about that? And it may be today, I do. And so you go and you read a little bit about the profile. And then you may be like, that was too much. Oh, gut. Hey, do I want to keep doing that, or do I want to stop and go read some fiction? And then your gut's going to be like, you want to do that. And then some days you can't. You have to be frustrated because you made a commitment to something that you agreed to do. But if you're feeling frustrated about that commitment, that's because you didn't use your gut to make that decision. And so then that's where the awareness comes in and you start ticking off like, oh, I didn't. So like I, as a self-projected projector, I initiated a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not even supposed to initiate. I'm not even supposed to respond. I'm just supposed to sit back and wait for stuff. But I felt like I had an obligation to change the world. And so I initiated all this stuff, and then I did it. And then I expected people to come and help me with it. And then they didn't. And then I was bitter. I was like, why are y'all not helping me with this? And it's like, oh, because this wasn't, like, it was great, but it wasn't for me to even engage in. I feel like white people do that all the time. We just initiate things we have no business being a part of. That's literally what we're doing. Like we feel this obligation because our brain is like, you need to do something. And actually all we need to do is shut it down and listen here, or listen to ourselves, talk out what's important, or feel it in our bones, or sleep on it, and then decide whether if it's correct. I think a lot of people trying to initiate stuff is why we're having so many problems in the world. There's a lot of reasons why we're having problems. Don't get me started. I want to stay positive tonight. So did that kind of answer your question a little bit? Is anybody, I'm looking to see, does everybody know what they are?
Yeah, I know what I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
we looked it up during, I'm a projector like you, and I have a splenic, some, whatever it's called,
Mhm.
splenic energy type,
Yeah,
something.
splenic authority.
There you go.
So that your personal authority is that bone knowing.
Mm,
And it's also could be fear that helps you decide. And then you have to find
That's-
out what the fear is about.
that's a thing.
And that's where it gets real deep, Rachel, because you, depending on your gates and channels that you have, that's when you start getting into the gates and channels, because your gates and channels will actually tell you what your fears are so that you can be aware. And then you can start like making note, like, oh, this, I value this fear. And this is why I'm feeling this way about this. And so it's really helpful. Deborah, did you say you had done one too? You knew what yours was?
I'm a manifester.
Are you? Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. How do you feel about that? Like, do you want to inform us about it? How you feel?
Well, now I understand now why I need to inform. I haven't done it in the past, and people would always get so angry. And I'm like, well, I made up my mind on that a long time ago, but you didn't tell anybody. I'm like, did I have to tell you? And I now I've become to understand that just because I tell you doesn't mean I'm asking for approval. I'm
Right.
just telling you, I'm just letting you know that this is but once I have my mind made up, I'm very comfortable with my decision, and I usually don't inform anybody, and they get hysterical.
Right.
Yeah.
And I bet you're like, why do y'all care? Because a lot of times manifestors, they don't even realize that it matters. They're like,
Right.
why does it matter?
Yeah.
Like it has nothing to do with you or whatever. And then your whole family is like, but I didn't know that you were making this decision. And all they wanted was to just be informed. It's
right.
true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
I remember when I got divorced, I didn't tell anybody, and I had two families mad at me for a long time. Mhm.
Right.
But I'm like,
I
okay, no big deal,
I mean, it wasn't y'all, it wasn't your marriage. Why did it matter? Listen, I know, but it's so great because we know, and what I love, and Deborah, I connect with that so much for you because my husband is a manifester, and
Mhm.
it helps me so much as a projector to know what my family is. And
Yeah.
that's the next step in this journey is once you have a understanding of who you are, then you can work on what your family is.
Right.
And then you can like it, I feel it that way about the Enneagram too. Like you can be like, oh, and there's a grace you can offer, not
Right.
only to yourself, but to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right.
Because you understand.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So I just need more work and guidance as far as human design. I know there's something there, and I know it can explain a lot of things for me. I'm just trying to get there and
Yes.
grasp, what it has to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
fascinating.
yeah,
love
it is very fascinating, and it's never too late to learn, learn yourself.
Never.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am a true believer that so much so that in that making initiating things that I had no businesses initiating, I started a
Mhm.
church
Oh goodness!
to
Wow.
open a school underneath, and the church I made it and it's a 501c3 religious organization that
Mhm.
is for lifelong learning because
Oh.
because my belief was that you shouldn't there should be no restriction and the government and nobody should tell you what you should get to learn when you get to learn it and whether or not you're an expert on it.
Right. Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
I opened up a school for my kids under it because in Tennessee that made it easier to not
Oh.
have to jump through the government's hoops because a church related school, they're like, oh sure, go teach weird things that's not actually real. They're fine with that as long as it's a church. But so I used those laws that were on the books. But
Good.
but it was lifelong learning. Like that's the key. You
Right.
you can
Yeah.
always learn something new.
Yeah, it is, and it's exciting.
It
Yeah,
is.
excited, about the next phase of my life and learning, and I just want to keep going.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you found us. Keep us, stay connected to us because we're gonna have more of these kinds of things.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for
And we
yeah.
will deep dive into another circuit, in the coming year.
Now, do you do individual?
I do. If you, I didn't,
Yeah,
yeah,
your
it's
Put down your info.
the revolutions.me at Human Design is
Yeah.
where.
Okay, yeah, okay, I got it. I wrote it down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty I'm not new in it, but I've done maybe 30 or 40 people's
Oh,
charts, and I feel like that, I guess that's a lot of
it's
people,
a lot. Yeah.
but
That's a
I
lot.
feel like it's like that's not much because so many other people are doing so many. But I am great at the intro, but I love to deep dive deeper. So I have different offerings. I have I know for anybody who's on here that is still here, I do a 2-hour initial labyrinth, and I charge $100, but if y'all tell me that you signed up through here, I'll do it for 75, and I'll take 25% off. Is that 25%? I'm not good at math. 25% off, because that's 25. I know that they're 4 quarters and $1. I'm not that off. Promise.
Yeah, well, listen, the knowledge you gain is worth it.
Right.
And I've been through years of counseling on and off, but there's something about this human design that explains something that's been missing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
so
agree with that.
yeah, I don't know what it is yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, it's the mechanical in some ways, even though it's an energetic mechanical. It's not energetic as in not substance, but it's an energetic mechanical map that then explains the flow of emotions and mental energies and other energies. It's a map like the gates. Like I just got it. It's like, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what Deborah was saying, it's like there's so many layers, and the deep dive, it's like there's so much magic held like in the treasure chest down at the bottom of the ocean. And there's so many places, it seems like, when just looking at these charts, it's like, oh, the relationships of all of it. To have someone guide through that would be phenomenal. Very healing. Yeah, in a great way.
It's so good.
Yeah, it is. Well, listen, I'm going to go, and I've got to go to work tomorrow, but I will be contacting you.
Thank
Sonia,
you.
about, an individual session.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Awesome, Deborah. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much. It was
Bye,
phenomenal.
Deborah.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye,
Good night.
Deborah.
Good
I'm
night.
also gonna head out.
night.
It was so nice seeing everybody. Thank
Nice
you.
It was so good to
It's
see
so good
y'all.
to meet you
Thanks.
guys.
Really have fun.
Good night.
Are we all
Thank
going?
y'all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 9, so I want to. I've
Oh, it
kept
is.
y'all over 30 minutes, so I want
Thank
to
you.
go on and go. But thank y'all so much for being here.
Thank you. It was
been
great.
phenomenal.
it was so
Eileen,
great.
Eileen and Karen, will y'all
Emma.
stay on for just a second?
Of course, yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
I mean, if
Thank
people
you.
wanted to
Bye,
watch the
y'all.
recording, could we
Oh.
share it? Because there's so
Yes.
much information in there.
Yes.
So I suppose if anyone I don't know if this is okay to say this, but if anyone wanted to watch the recording, if they could contact Sonia,
Yes.
right? And then you'd share it with them.
I will, and we'll figure out a way to get it onto I can put it on an MP3, I believe, and then I can send it, so it
You
can
can send
also
it
be
through Messenger too.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I'm gonna stop the recording.